Welcome to what I would like to call a wellness seminar. My name is Andrew Prochowski, and before I get this started, I wanted to give a well-deserved recognition to one of my former professors, Staples Dixon. She's one of the people that inspired me to research this topic of neuroscience and mindfulness, even if she doesn't know it. So I hope this reaches the ears of her and to many, many people who are hopefully listening to this. So let's get started. You have pathways all throughout your brain that connect to different brain areas, and you have similar pathways throughout your body. When you think, I'm thirsty, I want to drink, the premotor area of your brain sends a signal to the motor area, which sends a signal down to your neck, through your shoulder, down your arm, and into your fingertips, allowing you to pick up a cup and take a drink. With every belief and with everything you say, electricity is flowing through you. In the same way that a wire conducts electricity when you plug it into a phone charger, energy moves through your nervous system, and that is why the state of your nervous system matters. The way you are wired determines the energy you are conducting. If you are constantly stressed and stuck in unhealthy habits, your brain and nervous system become disorganized, and the electricity flowing through those pathways is chaotic. I believe the energy you put out into this world is what you get back. And when you rewire your brain so your habits, beliefs, thoughts, and actions align with where you want to go, the energy flowing through your nervous system becomes aligned as well. The energy you put out and the energy you receive in return reflects that alignment. Because of this, the state of your nervous system determines whether you are conducting chronic stress, anxiety, limiting beliefs, or aligned, peaceful, and successful. This is why the nervous system work is so important. You are always manifesting even when you think you are doing nothing because your brain and nervous system are constantly creating your reality. Your reality is not objective. It is constructed by your brain and nervous system every moment of every day. You are always manifesting, 24 hours a day based on the way your brain is wired. Every second, your brain filters out over 99% of the information coming in, and it continuously creates your reality. Even when you think you are not doing anything to manifest, you are still manifesting based on your current patterns. If you do not change your brain, you continue creating your future from where you are now. You do not see the world with your eyes. You see it with your brain. Your brain constructs the images you perceive and the experiences you have. That is why if your inner world does not change, your outer world will not change either. Visualization, hypnosis, meditation, affirmations, afformations, and journaling can be helpful to rewire the brain. Your brain is always predicting the future through a process called predictive processing. Manifestation is not magic, it is neuroscience. Because your brain is always creating your reality, you are always creating your reality through everything you think and do. Through this process, you will learn exactly what needs to change in order to create a different future for yourself. When your brain begins operating from a new pattern, your experience of reality shifts as well. The kind of change is not just about achieving goals, but about stepping into an entirely different way of living. Once you understand how your brain creates reality and how to intentionally rewire it, there's no going back. Times of transition, such as the beginning of a new year, like right now, are especially powerful because the brain is more open to change. This makes right now an ideal moment to start implementing new patterns in your brain. What I'm going to share with you is a structured, step-by-step process that has transformed my own life. What I teach will not resonate with everyone, and that is intentional. This process is meant for people who know deep down that they are capable of more success and abundance, yet held back by invisible blocks. It is for those who have read books, practiced the affirmations, and tried different tools to rewire their brain, but find that nothing truly sticks for them. Manifestation methods are ultimately tools for changing the brain because the brain is what does the manifesting. This work is also good for people who have achieved some level of success but sense a gap between where they are and where they could be. If you are tired of repeating the same patterns, whether financial struggles, relationship challenges, or self doubt, and you are ready to rewire your story, this process is designed to help you do exactly that. Pattern repetition is often the result of maladaptive learning and habitual behavior, and challenging those patterns require intentional rewiring of the brain. This process is also for those who crave freedom beyond money. For example, like mental and emotional freedom, people who want to live with a genuine sense of choice rather than repetition. It is for people who already believe in manifestation but want a method grounded in neuroscience to take these results to the next level. Creating change is a two-part equation: the information itself and your willingness to apply it. Knowledge alone does not create transformation, action does. When you engage fully and remain open to these steps, stagnation gives way to that movement. The power of change and the power of changing your life does not come from the information itself, but from how you use it. You are the one who creates the shift, and that is because you are far more powerful than you may realize. To activate neuroplasticity and rewire the brain, you need to assign value. The brain tends not to place importance on things it perceives as low investment. When you intentionally invest time and energy into something, your brain assigns it greater value. This increased value leads to higher dopamine release, and dopamine is a key driver for neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change, rewire, and learn new patterns. The more value you assign to an experience or piece of information, the more likely your brain is to encode it deeply and create a lasting change. Greater value leads to greater engagement, and greater engagement leads to stronger learning. When you actively pay attention and apply what you learn, your brain treats the information as meaningful. Dopamine reinforces this process by strengthening neural connections associated with learning and behavior change. In simple terms, the more you care, the more your brain changes. Neuroplasticity responds to attention, intention, and repetition, which is why intentional learning creates bigger and more sustainable shifts. I struggled deeply with both my health and my mindset. Being repeatedly told that something was wrong with me led me to believe that there was nothing I could do and it was just how I was going to live my life. I developed a strong victim mindset and lost any sense of belief or meaning. I did not believe in a higher power or in the possibility of change, and I felt disconnected from purpose altogether. I share this with you guys not for sympathy, but to show that no matter where someone starts, change is possible. At that point, I had no clear identity, no direction, and no sense of who I was. I was moving through life without intention, simply following the path in front of me. Although I struggled internally, I performed well academically. Even with significant challenges related to attention and focus, school came easily for me, so I followed the rules and did what was expected. Because I was good at school and interested in money, I was encouraged to pursue accounting, and I did accept that path without much reflection. Even though it felt secure at the time, it didn't excite me or feel authentic. I entered college on an accounting track, yet I felt unmotivated and disconnected from what I was doing. At the time, I did not realize that that sense of disengagement was a signal that my path was not aligned with who I truly was. When goals and life directions are misaligned with identity and purpose, the brain struggles to function optimally. Every person has a unique path, and when that path is ignored, motivation, confidence, and engagement decline. Dopamine, which supports the productivity and encouragement we were talking about, is closely tied to purpose and meaning. When goals reflect someone else's expectations rather than authentic desires, dopamine decreases, leading to burnout, anxiety, and emotional numbness. That shift explains why I felt unmotivated and disconnected from life. Everything changed when I stopped following external expectations and began pursuing what genuinely interested me. This is when I discovered education. I was going into my junior year when I took a class called Curriculum and Instruction 492, led by Professor Stables Dixon. Putting aside the many pedagogies that she taught us within that class, one was called Trauma Responsive Pedagogy. This pedagogy caught my attention because it showed how us as educators could be supportive in talking to students about their lived experiences. Learning about the brain helped me understand that many of the struggles I was facing weren't me problems, they were brain wiring problems. I had been identifying with labels and diagnosis, treating them like identity, but over time I realized those labels aren't who you are, they describe patterns in the brain and nervous system. That realization mattered to me because it meant that if I rewired my brain, my entire life could change. And when I started rewiring it, my mental health improved, my confidence changed, and my sense of purpose became clear. My intuition strengthened, and my energy transformed. Opportunities began to show up, and I felt like I was learning how to use my mind intentionally, as if I had just gained access to abilities I didn't know I had before. I share this to make a simple point. If I could transform my life, it is possible for others to transform theirs. Your brain is not your destiny, your identity is not fixed, and your life is not predetermined. Your story can change when you understand that your brain is creating your experience of reality and that you can change your brain. When you learn how to rewire it, you learn how to change your patterns, your choices, and the life those choices create. My transformation began at the moment I realized that my life was not a reflection of my potential. And your life right now is not a reflection of your potential either. Your future life is not a reflection of your potential. It is a reflection of your neural programming. The situation you are in right now was created by a past version of you, based on how your brain was wired at that time. If you want a different future, you cannot rely on potential alone. You have to change your current patterns. That means changing your brain. When people feel stuck or lost or unmotivated, disconnected from their purpose, there are scientific reasons for that. These experiences are not personal failures, they are predictable outcomes of how the nervous system and brain are functioning. One major reason people struggle to create change is nervous system dysregulation. The state of your nervous system determines how much energy you can safely hold and process. Think of the nervous system like a light bulb. Some systems are wired to handle more energy than others. If what you are trying to create requires more capacity than your nervous system can support, it becomes difficult to receive or sustain it. When the nervous system is chronically dysregulated and stuck in fight or flight, the brain prioritizes scanning for threats instead of opportunities. Fear becomes dominant, and growth feels unsafe. In that state, it is much harder to move forward, even when opportunities are present. Another major barrier is outdated beliefs. Beliefs function like software. They are flexible, upgradable code that your reality runs on. Limiting beliefs about self-worth, possibility, or capability shape what your brain notices and responds to. If you do not believe something is possible for you or that you are worthy of it, your brain will not actively search for opportunities that support it. Belief in yourself is not just motivational, it is a biological advantage. It enhances your performance. When beliefs are updated and aligned, the brain becomes more capable of recognizing and acting on opportunities that move you toward what you want and what you are worth. Another reason you may not be creating the change you want is that your identity is unclear. This can show up in two main ways. First, when someone feels overwhelmed by too many options or unsure which path to take, it often reflects a lack of clarity about who they are. When identity is clear, not just your personality traits, but a deeper understanding of one's values, motivations, and energetic expressions, decisions become easier. Direction emerges naturally when you know who you are and what aligns with you. The second aspect is that identity shapes destiny. Who you believe you are determines how you behave and the habits you default to and the directions your life takes. In the brain, identity is closely tied to the default mode network, which stores your personal narrative and guides habitual behavior. When you identify as a certain type of person, your brain works to reinforce that identity. This is why change becomes easier when your brain begins identifying as the kind of person who already does that or has what you want. If your habits do not match your goals, your brain receives conflicting signals. While intention matters, action is the instruction that tells the brain who you are. Habits teach the brain what to believe about you. Let's talk about 2 more reasons. The first is focus. When attention is fragmented and distraction becomes the norm, it is difficult to sustain the mental energy required to intentionally shape your life. If someone struggles to focus on small tasks, creating long-term change will feel overwhelming. However, focus is not fixed. It is a skill that can be trained. The brain can be rewired for sustained attention through intentional practice, just as it can be rewired in other areas. And the last one I want to talk about is your environment. Your environment has such a powerful influence on your brain. The people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, the spaces you occupy yourself in, shape your neural patterns. Environment does not simply surround you, it becomes internalized. The brain constructs your experience of the world, meaning your environment is reflected within your nervous system. When your surroundings reinforce growth, possibility, and alignment, change is possible. When I have a goal or something I want to create, I always return to the same question: which of these 10 steps needs more attention right now? Any area where you feel stuck is usually a sign that one of these steps is out of alignment. Once you identify where the block is, it becomes much easier to know what to work on and how to move forward. The first step is understanding how reality actually works. Gaining a basic understanding of the neuroscience behind reality. Creation fundamentally changes how you think about manifestation. When you understand the science, you gain agency. Just as it is difficult to fix a car you do not understand how it works, it is difficult to change your life if you do not understand how your brain constructs your experience. Your life is not a reflection of your potential, it is a reflection of your programming. Reality is shaped through prediction, memory, and belief. You do not see the world with your eyes alone, remember that. Light enters the eyes, but the brain integrates memories, emotions, beliefs, and expectations before the image is ever even formed. This is why 2 people can experience the same situation but in completely different ways. Your nervous system determines what you notice, what you overlook, and what stands out to you. You do not attract what you want, you attract what your brain is wired for. You can only experience what your brain is capable of constructing. Just as a light bulb can only emit as much light as it is wired to handle, your nervous system can only process and perceive what it has the capability for. Entire aspects of reality can remain invisible simply because the brain is not wired to register them. A classic study I want to talk about illustrates this. In the early 1970s, researchers raised newborn kittens in environments where they were exposed only to either vertical or horizontal stripes. This was during the development of their visual cortex. When the kittens were later placed in a normal environment, those raised seeing only vertical stripes could perceive vertical objects but failed to register horizontal ones. Their brains had effectively deleted part of reality. The same was true in reverse for the kittens exposed only to horizontal stripes. Objects their brains were not wired to recognize simply did not exist in their experience. This demonstrates perception is not objective. What you experience is limited or expanded by how your brain has been trained to see. Each group of kittens had brains that deleted the parts of reality that were never exposed to while developing. When I first learned about this study, it made me reflect on my own brain and how it might be filtering out things. If reality is shaped by how the brain is wired through experience, then it raises an important question. What opportunities am I not seeing simply because my brain was not programmed to notice them? This principle shows up everywhere, in relationships, attachment styles, emotional patterns, all of which are shaped by early experiences. It also shows up in beliefs about money, success, and possibility. If someone grows up hearing about money and that it is scarce or hard to earn, their brain automatically filters out easy or unexpected opportunities because they do not fit the existing programming. The second step is regulating the nervous system. Nervous system dysregulation is one of the primary reasons people struggle to create change. Before deeper rewiring can occur, the body must feel safe and stable. Regulation involves restoring balance through constant rhythms, movement, rest, and practices that signal safety to the nervous system. These actions may seem simple, but they create the psychological condition necessary for learning and focus. When the nervous system is stuck in fight or flight, it becomes nearly impossible to create a future aligned with peace, joy, or fulfillment. Fight or flight narrows perception and pushes the brain into threat detection mode rather than opportunity recognition. This is why moments of anxiety often feel overwhelming in the moment but seem insignificant later. Regulation restores clarity. When the nervous system settles, perception becomes more accurate. It sustains what it is trying to create. Step 3 is knowing who you really are. This step is often overlooked, yet is one of the most important. Many people struggle to feel fulfilled or genuinely happy because they have never taken the time to understand themselves at a deeper level. This is about understanding your core nature, which is your energetic blueprint, your inner design, what you are here to express. Manifesting a life that is misaligned with that inner truth is extremely difficult no matter how hard you try. Each person arrives in this life with a unique design. Those gifts are not accidental, and they are not interchangeable. You have a distinct energetic signature that cannot be replicated, along with a life path that is ultimately yours. When you are disconnected from that truth, it becomes easy to chase goals that belong to someone else or to follow paths that look successful on the surface but feel empty inside. Some people thrive on certain paths because they align with who they are. Others feel drained because those same paths are not meant for them. Knowing who you truly are brings clarity. It informs how you make decisions and how you create. This kind of self-knowledge cannot be given to you by anyone else. It is something only you can discover for yourself. When that connection is missing, people often feel stuck and overwhelmed by their options. When people feel exhausted by too many options or unsure about what to do, the issue is rarely confusion itself. The issue is misalignment. When you have a clear sense of why you are doing what you are doing and who you are becoming, confusion fades. Motivation requires specifics. The brain needs a clear prediction in order to generate energy and action. When purpose is unclear, motivation drops. When purpose is clear, dopamine increases. Clarity creates emotional resistance. When you clearly define what you want and how you want to feel, your brain becomes energized. When that picture aligns with the identity and purpose, motivation becomes natural for you. This is why misaligned goals feel heavy, while aligned goals create excitement and momentum. Confusion is not a lack of intelligence or effort, it is a signal that something deeper needs to be realigned. Once clarity returns, people stop settling in relationships, work, or money, or even their environment because they finally know what they are saying yes to. Clear values and purpose create boundaries. Risk-taking also becomes easier because uncertainty feels less threatening when you trust in your decisions. Growth always involves uncertainty, but it is far more manageable when you know who you are and why you are moving forward. At that point, action replaces overthinking. Progress comes from doing and not from endlessly analyzing possibilities. After understanding how reality is created, regulating the nervous system, clarifying identity, and recognizing your purpose, the next step is upgrading the beliefs that support that future. Beliefs are the rules your brain follows. They function like code, determining what feels possible and realistic. If the rules do not change, the outcome will not change. Rewiring beliefs involves interrupting outdated narratives, and reframing those self-concepts. From a neuroscience perspective, beliefs are predictive models. The brain uses them to forecast the future and then looks for evidence to confirm those predictions. If you believe that nothing works out for you, your brain will actively scan for proof of that belief. The default mode network reinforces identity-based narratives, while habit systems automate familiar behaviors. The brain prioritizes familiarity over happiness because familiarity feels safe. New experiences that do not match old beliefs may be flagged as threatening even when they are beneficial. However, belief change alone is not enough. Action is the instruction that tells the brain what to believe. I'm going to keep reinforcing this idea because this is the main point I'm trying to make. The brain trusts your behavior more than words. If thoughts and affirmations are not matched by action, the brain defaults back to the old story, the old narrative. This is why identity shifting matters. You must begin living as the version of yourself who already embodies the future you want. Identity sets the ceiling for what feels possible. Your life can only rise to the level of your internal self-concept. The brain works constantly to maintain consistency with identity. The default mode network stores your self-concept and dictates default thoughts, emotions, or behaviors. A practical way to begin is to clearly define the version of yourself who already has what you want. How do they think? How do they behave? What habits do they maintain? What do they surround themselves with? What environments do they choose? Acting in alignment with that identity does not require money or perfect conditions. Daily habits are identity anchors. As you close the gap between who you are now and who you want to be, your behavior changes. Your emotions will shift. Your results will follow. Small, intentional shifts compound quickly, and that is how lasting transformation begins. To create real change, your habits must align with the version who already has what you want. When habits are misaligned, consistency becomes difficult. Focus, discipline, and productivity are skills that can be built. Repetition strengthens the prefrontal cortex, which governs planning, self-control, and follow-through. Each time you follow through, dopamine reinforces that behavior, strengthening self-trust. When your habits match your identity, resistance decreases and momentum builds. Distraction works the same way. Every time you practice distraction, you strengthen the neural pathways for it. Focus improves only when it is practiced. Removing distractions and creating these systems reduce stress because consistency signals safety to the nervous system. Habits are the foundation of change. When habits align with your direction, effort decreases and progress becomes more natural. You cannot create a high-capacity life with depleted energy. Energy is not only physical, it is also the mental and emotional state of which your brain sits in. When energy is low, people experience the fatigue and brain fog that affects creativity and the capacity for change. Optimizing energy means creating conditions where the nervous system feels regulated and supported. This includes sleep, circadian rhythm alignment, morning light exposure, movement, and even your nutrition. Movement boosts dopamine and improving focus and motivation. Stable blood sugar supports mental clarity. These physical foundations matter, but mental energy matters just as much. Excitement and purpose are all good, but the ability to take action will optimize your energy, and creation will feel fluid rather than forced. In summary, let's go back over these 10 steps. Step 1. Understand how reality is constructed by the brain. Step 2. Regulate the nervous system. Step 3. Know who you truly are. Step 4. Clarify purpose. Step 5. Define what you want. Step 6. Rewrite beliefs and personal narratives. Step 7. Become the version of yourself who already has it. Step 8. Align habits and strengthen focus. Step 9. Optimize energy. Step 10. Upgrade environment. Each step builds on the previous one mentioned. When these elements align, change stops feeling forced and begins to feel inevitable. Thank you.